I want to talk about with you. But let's start with your tweet. I will read it for everyone. You tweeted this, I don't know, last week or something like that.
Yeah.
Being in a band feels pretty stupid now. The culture is embarrassing and nothing about it is cool anymore. Make almost no money and half my old heroes are disgraced perverts. I have worked my whole life for this and all I feel is ashamed, broken down and obsolete, barely hanging on. And then you followed up, I'll be fine. I still appreciate everyone who supports. I'll keep making music. It is what it is. There's a lot to unpack here that I want to ask you about, but just what was going through your head?
Well, a lot of doom and despair. It was definitely a moment of weakness, and the cynical toxic
Or was it
thoughts.
a moment of reality?
Well, it's a little bit of both. I think I want to address that. While I do have times where I feel this way, wholeheartedly, I don't. It's not that all I feel is ashamed and broken down and obsolete, but there are moments where that is the overwhelming feeling. And I think a lot of times I tend to vent and be like, should I post this? Is this something that can be misconstrued? And it gets the better of me. But I also do think it's something important to talk about and to keep this toxic positivity where everything's fine and there's nothing wrong that needs to be addressed. That's not the way either. So hopefully, if anything, for the people who don't understand where I'm coming from, we can meet in the middle and help give each other perspective from both sides.
Yeah, and I don't want this to be like super negative or anything like that. But like you said, I do want to talk about this stuff because I think it's important for people to hear, reality in a lot of different ways. Not to say that everything is terrible and awful and all that, because that's not true. I mean, you're about to go on tour and play to, thousands and thousands of people over the course of this tour who are going to, tell you how great you are and love your music and all that stuff. And that's pretty cool.
It's amazing. Yeah, it really is. And again, super grateful to be able to perform. And the reason why I got into music is not so it could feel cool to try to pursue being a rock star, but because it's my favorite outlet and is good for my soul, et cetera, et cetera. But when you spend so much time, especially in your younger years, looking up to an example that ends up being kind of tainted or not at all what you thought it was going to be, and that feels like a piece of you. It feels like a piece of you has been tainted in a way. You know what I mean? Because you've been influenced. For example, for me, Warped Tour. I grew up going to Warped Tour, and that was all I ever wanted to do was be a part of it. And then after a while, all these stories come out of the abuse that happens during Warped Tour. It happened during Warped Tour, and just a lot of other bad shit that I don't know. In retrospect, it makes you feel kind of dirty for idolizing the culture so much, not really understanding.
Although to be fair, as a kid, there's no way you would know about that stuff, until it comes out in the press. And of course, then, you react, nobody wants to see that stuff. But it does kind of make you feel like, man, this thing that I loved, was it ever what I thought it was? Yeah,
that's a really good way to put it into words. And it does kind of break your heart a little bit. And also, there's a certain level of, I don't want to say being jaded, but the experience you get from doing this for 10 plus years, being on the road. And musicians are often treated like they're at the bottom of the barrel. And you get screwed over pretty hard for a really long time. And, when you're 18, when you're 20, all for me, all I wanted to do was be on the stage. I didn't care about the money or really much else. I just wanted to be up there. But then when you're 30, it's like, okay, I've done these things that I've always really wanted to do. And 16-year-old Andy's incredibly stoked, and that's great. But you do need more. You need to be able to make a sustainable living and, keep nourishing your soul and feel good about the work you're doing. And, because of how difficult things are out there on tour, you hear about venue merch cuts all the time and the crazy expenses that go into
just living in a fucking van for 6 or 8 weeks.
Yeah.
This shit's rough.
It is rough, and it gets harder as the years go by.
The first tour, it's like, this is amazing. I'm on a tour with my friends. This is cool. It's like summer vacation, you know, and obviously it's an amazing opportunity to get out there and be on the road and stuff. But at the same time, you're literally living in a van with 5 or 6 other people, you know, not making a ton of money in most cases. It's, you know, it's not easy.
Right. And when the money is not there, and when your quality of life is suffering because you can't afford to, for instance, eat healthy on tour or get the amenities you need, just basic stuff like showering.
And really quick, before we go any further, have you checked out my Patreon? Patrons get early access to all my main channel videos and my podcasts. I also do giveaways sometimes. For example, I just gave away a pair of these Eargasm earplugs. And if you want me to review your music, there's a way to do that as well. All you gotta do is join at the $10 and up level. Then every month I do a call for submissions. If you want me to review something, all you gotta do is drop it in the comments of that post. Then I will review it live on Twitch and post it on Patreon for everyone to see. So if that sounds cool, hit the link in the description of this video, and I appreciate your support.
And then you see everything that's going on in the climate currently, and you're like, well, I'm a part of this, and this is this is what I chose to do with my life. It's hard to wrap your mind around it, and those
I want to talk about
happen.
the disgraced perverts part in particular, because I've thought about this a lot.
Yeah.
Here, I'll tell you my opinion and my experience. You can tell me what you think. There are, and it only becomes more and more obvious over the years, there are so many just dysfunctional shitbags in the entertainment industry. Not just limited to music. It's like Hollywood, like Epstein and, you know, Weinstein and just all these people, like, you know, and Dan Schneider from Nickelodeon. I mean, like, you realize that there are these people in Hollywood who were getting away with this stuff for, you know, decades because people were scared to say anything. And I think the same thing kind of happens to, I hope, a lesser extent in music, meaning that, like, there's a lot of people out there that everyone sort of knows are not great people.
Right. Well-kept secrets. Yeah.
Yeah. Or even sometimes it's not even a secret, you know? But yeah, lots of times it's a secret. The fans may not know, but people in the industry sort of know, like, this person's a shitbag. But what are you going to do? You get booked on a festival with that person and you see them, you know, backstage or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, what are you going to do? You're not going to, like, you can't confront them. Are you going to, like, and so you're in a really shitty position of, like, okay, I'm playing a festival with this person that's a piece of shit and I don't feel good about saying yes to that. But on the other hand, like, yeah, you could be like, well, Monuments isn't playing this festival, and they're gonna be like, okay, cool, we don't give a fuck.
Right. Many moral
so what
dilemmas.
Do you do?
Yeah. What do you do? Because, well, there's so many small variables here too. First of all, there's varying degrees of being a shitbag.
Yep.
And some people are shitbags or whatever, and then people have shitbag moments. Okay, no one's perfect. We all have some shit. So I just want to express that.
There's a difference between being an asshole and being an abuser.
Right. There's criminal behavior, and then there's, you know, that guy's being a prick. And I understand that, and I also understand that there's two sides of stories, and you can't always believe what you read on the internet. So you can't just roll up to a venue and be like, "I heard something about you. Fuck you." Et cetera,
but you do wonder in those situations. You're like,
of course,
well, I don't know. Is it like, maybe it's true, maybe it's not, and so you're in this situation of you have to, like, sort of just. I mean, I don't want to speak for you, but, like, it feels like you just sort of have to shrug and be like, well, I guess it just is what it is. We're just going to play our set. And
then what happens is your morality comes into question for yourself and for the public. And people are constantly having to weigh their options. Is this tour opportunity worth the damage it's going to do to my reputation or the damage it's going to do to my own morals? And I understand that too. And I also want to say that my tweet, and when I speak about stuff like this on Twitter, I'm not doing a public service. Okay, I'm getting stuff off my chest. You know, I'm not a noble messenger or anything. You know what I mean? Like, I do think it does need to be talked about. But